The keys to the city.
You have the keys to the city?
Oh,
I have the keys to the city.
The city.
City.
I've got the keys.
To your heart.
To your...
It is just one of those like Howard Hughes phrases for me.
The keys. I got the
keys to the city.
keys.
New thing I can do. The new thing I can do. I got the keys to the city. Keys to the city. New thing I can do. I got the keys to the city. New thing I can do. I got the keys to the city. But it's new thing I can do that I've got the keys to the city. Got them. Get them.
Now.
All.
Do it.
Do it now.
Do it.
Shut up. Get the keys.
Now.
Oh my god.
Put the cookie down.
Now. Stop it.
Oh my gosh, is this podcast in stereo?
Games, video 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 games.
It's August 10th, 2012, and it's Dracula week.
This is Idle Thumb 69. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And I'm Sean Vanneman.
And we're back from QuakeCon.
Yeah. Well, some of us are back. Some of us never left.
Never. How could I leave?
That sounds like some of us just never left QuakeCon.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're still camping out in the BYOC, like deriving warmth from that man's infinitely large monitor.
Yep.
There's now an Amway convention there.
Yeah, we're looking
Shacking
at
up with Butt Clan.
That's a horrible sentence. Yeah, there was that
There's
guy.
apparently a clan called Butt Clan.
Yeah, there was that guy who had the huge, like, 52-inch HD TV, but then immediately across the aisle from him was just a, like, huge flag sort of hung up above a huge cluster of BYOC computers. And
Your hand was billowing, and I was like, did they have a fan?
No, it was conveying that sort of majesty, but it
Right.
just said the words Butt Clan on it, and that was really hard to resist, just sort of...
Do we know what they play even?
No, but it was like written in Old English font, so we took some pictures
classic
of that.
Butt Clan.
Classic,
How
yeah.
have none of us gone online and searched for Butt Clan?
It's probably okay that we didn't.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Still can.
Team Butt Clan. I think I accidentally referred to them as at one point.
Incorrectly, I might add.
Yeah.
It's just Butt Clan.
Are there like games to play there? Whoa. Are there other like new games to play?
Are there like games?
Are there games at QuakeCon?
You know what I mean though? Is there like is it going to PAX and it's like, oh, I played this level from this game that's coming out in 3 months?
Well, we played Dishonored there, and we talked about it at the live show. Also, they had...
I heard there are rats that eat your face.
Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy rat eating and stuff going on in Dishonored, which I think is the primary... That's sort of like their... like the
Rats.
killer app of Dishonored is rat eating
killer
face.
rat.
The guys who are doing the new Rise of the Triad game was there, but we didn't look at it. Also, apparently, the Oculus Rift sick VR
How did
headset.
we all miss the Oculus
We missed the
Rift?
Oculus Rift, which is killing me because I saw that Kickstarter video and said, I don't think that I care about the Oculus Rift. But
All these people are telling me to.
but also, like, if you're doing a VR headset, which is a thing
so
some people
I'm-
want, like, at
yeah.
least it seems like they're doing an interesting
I'm
one.
like personally really, really against stuff like virtual reality, but whatever. It was at QuakeCon.
Right, why didn't we wear a sick
clearly
VR
should
headset?
Put it on
Like,
our faces.
Yeah, we're fools.
That was a mistake.
Yeah. So let's talk about all the
the
things
guy
we
who
didn't do at
invented
QuakeCon.
Oculus Rift is like 20.
Yeah.
Doesn't he just seem really young?
Yeah, he's a
His
young
name's
guy.
like Hunter or something like that, or Spencer. He's got one of those names, you know?
Yeah, right.
But he just looks like he's just...
Where he's just always going to be 20.
Yeah,
He's always
yeah.
going to be a cocky 20-year-old.
yeah, he's just like, I just had this neato idea.
No, I'm
My
sure he's
dad and I
perfectly
were in the
understand.
garage.
I don't know anything about
Did you
Yeah.
watch the video?
No.
That's how it starts.
Yeah, it's-
and this kid is brilliant, obviously. You just get
So it's not like the 5-year-old whose dad did the science, who won the gold medal.
No,
in
it's
But
science.
he also, his dad probably also genius. Like you just get
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
They
sure.
show them in their garage. Their garage just looks like NASA. Like their
Right.
garage just
in my
looks
garage
like
at
Ames.
JPL.
Yeah.
Speaking of things, the unrelated
Oh, man,
to video
yeah.
games, fucking Mars rover, rad, best, space, awesome shit. That was the best.
It was really good.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh,
Oculus Rift, whatever, space. There's cool stuff
jetpack
happening.
platforms, bungees. Why does Chris like the moon? This list.
We've unfortunately talked about
jetpack bungee robots.
We all got so excited about the Mars rover that I think we talked about it amongst ourselves so much that we're not going to waste everyone's time talking about it on the podcast. But oh man,
we're not going to waste our time.
Yeah. Well,
We
like
didn't talk
it
about
just
it to the
wouldn't be
readers.
interesting if we talked about it that much. But holy fucking shit. The stupid jetpack sky crane thing is the best goddamn thing in the entire world. Like, that's a thing that, like, when NASA put out the video, which was hilarious, their marketing video that was like, the 7 minutes of terror. Did you see that video?
Yeah.
Because it's the thing where it's due to the speed of light, it takes 14 minutes, but the landing process takes, like, 7 minutes and happens within that 14-minute window. So it's the time when they're like, this autonomous crazy robot that's doing a
7-minute procedure.
A 7-minute procedure that, like, you could not even put in a fucking Bruckheimer movie because it would be deemed too outrageous. It's happening with them just not knowing what the hell's going on at the NASA
until
center.
7 minutes after it's fully completed.
Yeah, so they put this video out that, like, has these really nice, high quality filmed shots of the NASA guys in front of green screens, like movie featurettes, but they're like, the crazy thing is we don't even know what's going to happen. And the music starts going crazy. Then it shows like this high end CG render of all the shit that happens. And it's actually, you know, where they're like, first, the heat shield comes off, and it like rips apart. And then you see like all
Is this scored by Hans Zimmer? Like
I don't know if it's a custom score, but it's at least from like a royalty free Hollywood style film score thing. And, you know, they have the huge CG of the air of the heat shield ripping off, and then the huge parachute billowing out, and then it drops out, and the thing goes, you know, the capsule goes flying away, and then 4 jet engines like blast, and it's like, what is this? I was watching that video, like I just took a break from watching the live stream because Twitter exploded with links to this video, and I was like, what in the fucking hell is this? Like, it was good marketing on NASA's part, which is weird.
Do you think NASA feels like they need to step up their public relations game? Because
that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, the tide has, like, the pendulum has swung so much against public interest in the space program in the last few years.
It seemed like, though, because, like, 6 months to a year ago, they put out a CG video of the Curiosity landing process, but it looked way more like it was just rendered out of a CAD thing where it was like, it looked like an airplane safety video where like the parachute will deploy
Purely
and then
like
just like an almost like
simulation.
isometric like rendered cylinder just sort of expands on screen to denote the parachute. And even then you watch that video and you were like, that is sick. But you know that NASA's public relations person looked at that and was like, get Blur Studios to render the fuck out of this, put some sick Hollywood music behind it, and make our like engineers look super freaked out. Put that video out. We're going to look like badasses here because this is amazing. So just market the shit out of this. We have something to market. We have a jet engine hovering over, like our fucking jetpack hovering robot floating on Mars, dropping a minivan full of science equipment onto the surface. Like,
they did such a good job, though, of communicating the absurdity of it.
Yeah.
Because now that it's done, you're like, F yeah. NASA, Earth,
so when's landing that thing going to get patched into like Moonbase Alpha?
Right. God. Well,
it's DLC.
The best thing about that though is like if they're like, okay, we're bringing back Lunar Lander. We're doing this. Deploy process. Wait 7 minutes. Mars lander successfully landed. Well done, player. Autonomous sick jetpack sky crane deployed because you said proceed with process. Like, yeah.
It's good, though, because had that thing exploded, we would have understood, well, they were trying to launch a jetpack platform into the...
But that would have been a disaster. It's like, so why did they fucking try this again exactly? Why did they try this, like, 18 step? Like what?
Well, one thing that I really like about this is when they did the... what were the names of the 2 previous ones? Spirit and Opportunity?
Oh, God.
I think that was... But those ones, their process was already insane, where it just deployed out of the capsule... And then just inflated a huge protective, like, 360-degree air cushion around the lander.
Like the second Pierce Brosnan Bond film.
Yeah, like, just... These are all basically James Bond deployment techniques. But the one where they're like, okay, last time we dropped the thing at, like, hundreds of miles an hour in a giant bouncy ball, which then deflated and landed upright. Then all the cables tucked in to the landing platform, and it rolled off of that and looked like a pretty much a boss. This time, though...
So it's just because this one was so much bigger, right? That's why
I think it's because it was, like, when you see a photo of a person next to it, you're like, holy shit, that's just a
it's
SUV.
really big.
Like, that thing is huge.
Yeah, it looks really big.
So I think... Like, the video said, we're talking about space so much, whatever, space is the video said even when they deployed that huge-ass parachute, because of the thin atmosphere of Mars, the vehicle was still going 200 miles an hour towards the surface with, like, a fucking giant parachute, which is why they had to deploy retro rockets, which would then kick up too much dust on the surface and damage equipment. So it had to hover in the air and then gently lower the thing down from a string, at which point the cable was severed and the jetpack element, which was hovering at like whatever, dozens or 100 feet off the ground, just flew like 2,000 feet away on its own and crashed. Also, that's the most heroic creature in this landing process.
It salutes before.
Yeah, just sick jetpack robots. Like, yeah. I knew this was a one-way trip coming out. Yeah,
do it for me.
Yeah. Sadly, the Curiosity rover is not capable of driving itself over to where the jetpack died and like deploying a grave, like deploys a memorial plaque, photographs it, and then goes on its way. Yeah, that would happen. Anyway, I would this will never appear in Moonbase Alpha, but were someone to make a virtual Mars environment which contained this entire process with really disgustingly nice latest CryEngine level of fidelity, and then would just let me wander around on the ground and observe it, I would be incredibly happy.
That'd be amazing.
I would experience that.
Yeah.
And then I would probably go poke at a rover for a second, or wander along the surface of Mars and find the jetpack and place a memorial.
It's just sort of barely skirting across the surface.
Yeah.
Kill me.
Oh god.
I'm okay.
What? And then you just snap its little neck.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Sleep.
It's okay. Sky crane.
Cover an American flag and walk away.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder though, there's the thing is though, they're all we have fantastic tool sets and a lot of really talented people to where if NASA said, okay, we're going to take this chunk of our budget and as just sort of an educational outreach thing, we're going to get Unreal 4 or CryEngine 3, get 10 dudes, and they're going to build this thing as just a one-off walk around and watch it happen from your own perspective.
Right.
On this, and it's just going to look like Crysis.
What's the kind of,
This sort of shit you would appreciate and learn from being able to wazda around on the surface of Mars and look up and wait for it to happen.
I think CryEngine has been used in serious game applications, like training stuff for the military and NASA and stuff.
That would have been super rad though, because the Mars NASA live stream, a ton of people on my Twitter feed, and I know all the Giant Bomb guys were talking about it, were watching it through the Xbox dashboard, because the featured thing on the 360 that night was watch the crazy fucking Mars thing land.
That's cool.
But if within that it was just press X to then pop into an Unreal Engine version of this thing where you can just sit on the ground and observe it, or ride the fucking landing capsule down,
or you're like a 10-year-old kid,
style,
and you press X, and then you realize that you're controlling the lander. It's you, and NASA calls you on the phone, and they need you to complete the mission. And then
is this your high concept spec?
This is my Flight of the Navigator,
right? Like Space Camp the movie, where the kids get a chance to tour the space shuttle, but then the doors close, and then the shuttle accidentally launches, and they've got to use their space camp training for real. Except that it's an autonomous jetpack robot that commits suicide, so that kid is fucked.
Oh my god!
Yeah, he's left an empty shell.
It was really tragic.
7 minutes later.
Yep. The film was in fact called 7 Minutes of Terror.
Well, he didn't know until another.
It's a safety video that they show at Space Camp. 7 Minutes of Terror. Don't do this. It's the Red Asphalt of Space Camp.
Don't be the weird helper jet robot that travels to Mars and leaves.
Yeah, you learn that though through your Xbox experience.
Yeah. Well, games just really have that power to just really put you in that experience and really make you learn that lesson through experience.
Serious games. We should pitch this for next year's GDC Serious Games Summit. The story of a kid who takes the place of the autonomous jet robot on the Curiosity lander and dies hopelessly in space.
That seems pretty
a cautionary tale.
A cautionary tale. Yeah. Anyway, I
really think it's about time games start tackling social messages.
Live in space for years on a journey to Mars, but then die during the 7 Minutes of Terror part.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay.
Anyway, that's the space portion of our podcast.
Actually, speaking of space, so I haven't really been playing any games lately, at least not since QuakeCon. But except for I'm still sporadically playing FTL, which is awesome. And I don't know if I have a lot more to say about it beyond what I said on a Progress Cast a while ago, because it's still basically the same game, and I guess I just really like playing it. But one thing that's cool is that because it's technically a beta that I'm playing through the Kickstarter, the code that they gave out to all their Kickstarter backers. They're actually just doing updates on a regular basis because they're still just making the game right now. And so if you have a Steam build through the Kickstarter, you're just they patch it pretty frequently. And it's interesting. One of the things that they patched into the game a week or two ago, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point, is save game functionality, which is really interesting because it has had an effect on the way I play that I guarantee, promise you, is not what the developers intended. But it's been fascinating for me.
What's going on?
So this is a game that, like Flotilla, a game like that, or a lot of roguelikes. I mean, this isn't quite a roguelike, but it's often compared to one because you start and you go, and then you either get to the end or more likely you die on the way. Like I've never actually fully finished the game because it just gets so hard in the last boss. But so I generally, when I sit down to play FTL, at this point, I've gotten to the final boss enough that I know it's not going to take me more than like whatever chunk I don't even remember, like an hour and a half maybe. It's a max, probably a lot less than that. I know that I'm either going to get to the end and die, get almost to the end and die, maybe one of these days actually beat that goddamn boss. He's one of those bosses that goes into like new form after you
his health bar goes down to the last pixel, but then the little,
and then he like
a little glow bit grows a new boss.
It's not quite that because it's a spaceship. But he like warps away like right before you technically destroy him. And,
man, classic move.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's actually
one of those boss
really
moves.
Irritating. And then when he comes back, he's way more powerful than he was before, which is ridiculous because he just blew up half his ship. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I want to point out that the save functionality doesn't for me end up working the way that they intended, which presumably, and I could be doing this, which is presumably, halfway through, whatever, I don't have time to finish, I'll come back and leave later. But I usually don't start the game unless I know I've got to get out.
Oh, I know what you're to say, I think. But keep going.
Really? I'd be very surprised if you did. So we'll compare notes after this. So the way the game works is you start off and you can name your spaceship whatever you want, and it'll assign you 3 crew members, and you can name them if you want, or it'll give them random names.
Suicide platform.
Mine is always called The Video Game. It's the name of my ship every time.
Fantastic work, Chris.
Yeah,
that's very nice.
However, I never bother renaming the people, which would probably annoy Steve. Steve always gets really annoyed how I never. Well, no, not never, but in many games, unless it's the focus of the game, like a Bethesda title or something, or like Mass Effect or something, I won't bother customizing my guy, and that always really irritates Steve. Steve is like so into every little bit of character.
It irritates me as well.
But in this case, the only customization is their names, and so I just end up leaving them whatever they're named when it starts. And I play the game, and eventually I die, which is what happens in a game like this. And then you start over, and So usually what happens, or what happened up until they added save in, was I would get in the game and I'll just quit. Like I never play more than one in a row because it's just too much. So I would quit. I'd be okay, whatever. A few days later, I would load it up again, start over again, go through that whole thing, name my ship, assign my 3 crew members, go through, blah, 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 blah. And then I realized one day that if you click restart at the end of the game, it just restarts with all the same like variables you had this time. So you start off with the same ship name that you already chose. You start off with the same 3 crew members that were already assigned. In my case, that were randomly assigned. And it just brings you back to the first sector of space again, and you go. And I'm like, oh, that's convenient. I don't need to actually rename all these guys and do all this just little kind of housekeeping before you start.
As Steve would call it, the fun part.
Well, but there really isn't enough customization to make it interesting. It's just the only customization is renaming your guys, and that's it. Like they're just little models. I guess you could cycle through the models, but they're just little tiny sprites. And so I'm like, all right, this is not like this degree of customization is not interesting on any kind of deep level unless I'm unlocking more things, which I guess happens at some point. But so I start to realize when I get to the end, the last thing I do in the game before I quit is I restart. I move my guys to the place I want them in the ship, and then I save and quit, not having done anything.
You're like using it as a template mechanism.
Exactly, right. So then when I load the game up next time, my ship's all I have to do is start playing, and my guys are already in the right place. They've already got their names. The ship is already named. Everything's ready to go. because technically it's just a restart from the last time I played. It's not an actual new game. And so the totally unintentional result of this is that I've had the same 3 starting crew members in every single game I've played for the last 2 weeks. And they, because of just the way that the game randomly put them on the ship, the first time these 3 were assigned to me, they're always like, I always direct them in the exact same order to the exact same systems. So it's always Elizabeth is my pilot, Manon is my engineer who like fixes the engines when shit goes wrong and operates them and like makes my ship more maneuverable, and Maria is my gunner in my weapons room. And so for like 2 weeks, the probably a dozen or more games I've played in that amount of time, probably maybe 24 games, I don't know how many games I've played, have been these exact same 3 people, and they're so firmly entrenched in my mind as these roles. Where I'm like, yeah, Elizabeth's got that shit locked down in the bridge, like she's got this. And
but does she? They've never actually defeated the boss. You're putting them through this just looped hell.
No, but yeah, that's true. It is basically Groundhog Day for these people. Well, because every time, like, I improve a bit more.
There's actually an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation that has that storyline, which is now exactly what I was picturing when you were saying this, where it opens with all the characters sitting around a table playing cards, and then a few minutes later, events transpire which makes the ship explode, and then it just like goes to the commercial break and comes back with them playing cards, and they eventually sort of little echoes carry over the course of it, and they eventually sort of figure out what's going on and solve the problem. But the story inside of your horrible replay for those characters for me now is that episode of The Next Generation where like Elizabeth's like, I feel like I shouldn't be at the console right now because I know that if I do this, or like the 2 or 3 times you get to the boss and he warps back, they're like, he's just gonna fucking warp back.
How do you know?
Yeah,
we've never fought this guy before.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you've created a horrible time loop hell for your like 3 guys by not letting them die by re-rolling. You're keeping them in stasis with the save feature.
Well, and then what's funny on top of that, to kind of embellish the story a bit more, I guess you over the course of the game, just naturally by playing, there might little randomly generated plot events can happen that like a guy messages you and asks if he can join your crew to get away from this horrible planet where he lives, or you like attack a slave ship and like rescue one of the slaves from the ship, and like then he joins your crew, and so over the course of the game, past the initial 3, you get all of these other all these other people with their own random names that are added on that are completely different from game to game, like different races, different names, like they end up doing different things on the ship depending when I pick them up. But there's always that crew of 3, and so yeah, I can just imagine like in this continuity, they have this weird dawning realization among themselves that like just all the other crew members on the ship are it's just a mission, like just whatever, just an ill-fated mission for these people. Just they die and they're just lost to the ether, never to resurface. But for these 3, it's a horrible, never-ending echo.
Does it feel to you like you're exploiting the game? I mean, do you expect this feature to change before it ships because of the fact that you're doing this stuff? Because of the torture you're putting your crewmates through?
I don't see what difference it makes. Like, there's no stat randomization. So a crew member, the ones you start with are all human, always, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. I shouldn't say that because I'm not sure. But there's very little meaningful actual statistical or gameplay variation in the things you can in the starting state. Like it's just 3 crew members. It doesn't really affect anything. So I don't know why they would patch that out. I don't know what what harm it would be doing.
Right.
It's just interesting because now those names to me are so firmly entrenched in those roles. Like I just
what's
can't
great
even
is when
imagine.
you finally do re-roll and something bad happens, you're like, oh, Maria would have killed that guy.
Yeah.
Like, where's
Well, and what's cool too is that when you play, you always want to keep like once a crew member starts off in a given like chamber with a given system, like there's engines, weapons, shields, the bridge where you pilot, and then there's like minor systems that are a little less important, like your camera system, your bulkhead system, and your drones. But like once you assign someone to one of those, and by assign I just mean put them in the place, you want to keep them there indefinitely. because the more they do that thing, the better they'll get at it, and they can level up that ability, and it makes them actually a better gunner, which gives you bonuses, or a better engine operator, which makes you evade shots more easily, and same with the bridge. And then shields, your shield recharge faster, etc. So you really do, once you started the game, you really, really do want to keep them there. So it's just another level of just reinforcement for me. As like Manon is always in the engine room. Like, that is what that guy does, period. Like, Maria is always on the turrets, like, period. It's cool. Like, it's a level of personal attachment that it's something that I found a little bit lacking when I started playing this game, because it's just so much of it is just kind of clinical, random.
Right.
Like, I still think it's a bit of a weakness with the game, actually, although obviously I like it a lot because I'm playing it tons. But in general, I feel like the game could have more personality, and this totally unintentional little bit of emergence that they have in there now has actually gone a huge distance in achieving that for me. It's a cool game.
I have a beta key.
You should play it.
I should. Chris has got me all excited about it now. I did finally. I know you put we probably talked about this game too much too, but you put so many hours into Binding of Isaac, and I played 45 minutes and totally figured out why you put in
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So what was your
it just latched
reaction
instantly.
to that game? Because we haven't really talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. It's funny because I think a conversation with Steve, maybe on a GDC cast or something.
No, I don't think we've ever actually talked about Binding of Isaac on the cast, but it was on Goaty.cx.
Oh, right, yeah. So Steve's descent on
GOTY.cx, the Idle Thumbs Game of the Year website.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go there.
We haven't talked about that on a real podcast.
No.
You should go there, though, because, we pick 3 games, or 4? We had 3 games, or sort of these are the games of the year.
We have the 3 games of the year, then we have a bunch of runners-up.
Yeah. But also because, obviously we don't agree with each other. We don't really have unanimous agreement about much.
It's funny because
there's kind of a dissent.
On the podcast, I feel like we often do, but it masks how many things we...
it's definitely our candor belies our
about, but yeah.
Steve wrote a dissenting opinion for Binding of Isaac.
It was I don't understand why I'm supposed to like this game. This game's just covered everywhere in shit and poo, and this is off-putting and gross. Goodbye. And none of that hit with me.
Yeah, me too.
It's so funny. And if somebody came up to me in the street and said, "Hey, here's a video game. I'm going to hand it to you, and it's about a kid, and he's going to kill bloody distorted monsters and have to smash poop piles to find odd Zelda hearts," I would be a little off put by the pitch. But
that's true.
It's funny that I think there's a part of me that I was thinking about it that is so just refreshed by the feces.
Me too.
So refreshed by the
I know what
theme.
you're getting at, which is a horrible.
That's just so.
That's a horrible sentence that you've spoken, but
so refreshed by the feces.
I just want to kind of breathe them in.
Just let them percolate.
Yeah, I just want to stew.
Just waft
It's sort of like
feces.
an effervescence.
Just
from the shit.
Kind of dab my face a bit.
Okay,
Okay.
And now
we were all towing the line, and you just cannonball.
I just put
into the feces.
put my foot in that line of poo.
Thanks, Chris.
Please continue.
Anyway, I also kind of know what you mean.
And it's so refreshing that obviously
how unguarded it is. Is that part of what
completely how unguarded and unfiltered it is, and you would never. It's what's amazing and fantastic about indie games. Period, is that there's nobody in a room somewhere else saying no. It's just Ed McMillan,
McMillan and Tommy Reffinez.
Yeah, just saying yes to themselves.
Well, also, this is a weird Christian parable
so
about
indulgent.
with poop. Whatever. We're just doing that.
And if it was just a Newgrounds beat 'em up, I probably, if somebody sent it to me or I discovered it, I would play it and that would be it. But it's just also just incredibly well designed, and it makes you so curious. And actually, it's great because I think both the mechanic of if I get that, I wonder what's behind that. Get that. It's if you haven't played it, it's basically Zelda dungeons that are systemically generated, and you call these roguelike games, where you're going through basement after basement after basement trying to beat bosses.
There was a game, sorry, I'm going to distract you for half a sec. There was a game that I played at California Extreme that was actually a non-roguelike version of The Binding of Isaac, but it was old. It was a Robotron 2064 clone, sort of.
Is this the one with the match 2?
I don't know. It was a Robotron game where you moved a guy. No, that was a crazy thing.
We should talk about that.
But this game, it was weird. I was playing it with Zach from Video Games Hot Dog, and I played it for a minute, and it was like, oh, this is just kind of a crappy Robotron clone. He said, no. Keep playing it for a second because the controls are weird. Like you can only shoot in 4 directions, you can only move in 4 directions without it, and it's really sort of clunky. But it had a persistent map that you uncovered over time, and it had small objectives, like it had lock and key puzzles and stuff, and it made me realize that The Binding of Isaac is actually way closer to that game than to Zelda. Like it always gets compared to Zelda dungeons, but
yeah.
I just, for some reason,
I also just played a lot of Link to the Past like a year ago.
Right, but like I kept thinking about Binding of Isaac in terms of Zelda, and then when you were playing it, you're like, "Oh, well, I played so much Geometry Wars 2. This just comes second nature."
I'm also really good at it. Like
Right.
it instantly picked it up. I used Joy to Key.
Oh, so you used a controller?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I did it all with the mouse.
You were dual sticking it and going crazy.
And I just ripped through it. Like I didn't die in the first hour I played the game.
Yeah.
And again, I
Which is the
played
opposite of my experience. Holy
probably
crap.
300 hours of Geometry Wars 2. Like I probably at one point I was my like base score was
It's so funny to me how the games that you
was in the
are,
top
like,
500.
most associated with
Yeah,
are
it's
just
where
totally different than the games that you end up like pouring all this time into.
I mean, making?
Yeah, or just I don't know.
I think about that a lot.
It's interesting.
Right,
'cause
where
I
it's
don't-
like you were a ranked Geometry Wars 2 player.
Yeah,
designer.
I was-
I only say that because I just didn't. I would have never. It just never would have occurred to me. I never would have assumed that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying
actually,
I'm not saying I'm right.
That leads into a conversation that I wanted to bring to the cast. It's something I've been thinking about while I've been driving around, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But because it goes deeper than that. From like it gets into like a personal beinghood that I have to talk about.
Okay, yeah.
But so the thing that's great about the theme of Binding of Isaac being so fucking insane and just raw is that I'm so curious as to where it's going. I'm so curious when I encounter a creature or when the first time there's this, I hate to take this away from you if you haven't played the game, but I walked into a room and there was a thing there and there were some icons on the screen. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's like a statue. There's a statue of a guy, and you can basically give up a heart for something.
Oh, yeah,
or give up 2 hearts.
yeah.
I didn't quite understand that
There's a
mechanic.
lot of stuff like that in this game. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
but I
go
was
to these
learn
rooms,
by-
and then
It's
it's just
learned by doing,
but it's
but it
all a
makes
hard
you
lesson.
so curious the first time you see something new,
Yeah.
which maps perfectly with dungeon crawlers, where there's something behind that door. I wonder what it is.
Yeah.
And because I'm so curious
Well, it's
about the
also very,
mechanical benefits, and
It's
I'm
also
so curious.
very Old Testament, where it's
Yeah.
just like it's
You're seeing
just,
everything
like,
new for the
punishment
first
is
time.
harsh, and
Right.
like it's just these are the laws. They are somewhat inscrutable. Like they don't, it's totally as opposed to New Testament where it's like it's very clear kind of covenant.
It means that
it's-
Isaac actually undergoes some fucking extreme trials. Just you
At
have
one
to just
point, when
touch
I was
weird
just a
shit and then
soulless
have your
guy
body
with
be
a heart
ruined.
attached to my chest, crying gray tears. By the way, so when I made the Geometry Wars reference, you basically, if one half of the keyboard moves you WASD up, down, left, right, and the like arrows shoot up, down, left, right, so you can do those things asynchronously from each other, so you can like move left and shoot a different direction. But I use the sticks, and that's the way I would play it.
I use the left-hand keyboard and right-hand mouse.
Okay.
Although I know you can do right-hand keys as well.
Yeah,
I would aim and shoot with the mouse.
But your projectiles are this boy's tears. So it makes you say funny things when you're playing. Like, oh, my tears are gray now. Oh, my
Like,
tears are so much better.
Mom's bra is recharged.
Because it was great because Jake was watching me play, and that's the one thing I'm bad with is just digesting all of my possibilities in the UI, and I think that's probably because I played so much Geometry Wars where there's none of that, where it's just I just got to fly and shoot. I don't have to, and I have bombs, but you just never try to use those unless you're in a pickle. But Jake would just kind of was like sitting behind my shoulder and be like, "Mom's bras recharge." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Boop," and I would hit it, and it would give you a bonus. So you're getting these things.
Yeah.
But no, I think the game is like, it's incredibly well made. It's thoughtful, and I'm just so curious about it. And I've only put an hour into it.
Yeah.
But like, I'm incredibly curious about this game.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
It's pretty great. It's interesting. Since that game came out, so much more content has been added to it that I suspect it's almost, in a lot of ways, almost a different experience, especially for a new player starting now. I played it a little bit when Wrath of the Lamb came out, but not enough to really get a sense. But you can tell it's already just way different than it was when it shipped. Kind of the way TF2 is like, if you started playing it right now, not that extreme, but
You don't have to have that stuff enabled, though, do you? You can start a plain binding because I
thought it all just patched.
I thought that if you
I don't know.
I think if you're playing Binding of Isaac with Wrath of the Lamb, just your first second out of the gate experience is just way more destructive to you as a player than than in the original game, right?
I didn't know that was even an option.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's just the thing that I had heard about. About
there's
that expansion.
none of that. I only bought I bought it on the Steam sale for $1.
So you didn't buy the DLC?
I didn't get. I only got.
I thought that was
Isaac.
DLC. Is it free?
Oh, I thought it was free. Maybe I'm totally. Oh, it is an expansion you have to buy. Yeah. Okay. So you just haven't seen that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So fine. I'm curious actually because I did buy it. Now I actually remember that. Yes, I in fact bought it. I'm curious actually to go play it and see what that's about.
So you put tons of hours.
Oh,
you put at least 100 hours.
Yeah. I was looking at you.
So
the thing about the just sort of the poo and the everything, the thing that it kind of reminds me of most, and I don't want to drill too deep into this comparison because I don't want to make like equivalency or start talking about this is as good as that or whatever. Beside the point, the thing that it kind of just reminds me. Good, Jake. Thanks. The thing that it reminds me of the most, just in pure, just reaction, is like
Goatsy.
R. Crumb or something like that.
Oh,
yeah. Like a really
that's
raw,
real.
like kind of alternative comics guy.
Paul Pope is actually the guy who I was gonna. It's so funny. I actually thought of Paul Pope while playing a game. He kind of like draws ugly, I guess is the way to describe it. I mean, it's a really shitty way to describe Paul
but there's a
Pope.
lot that's a definite style
Right.
in like underground and alternative comics. Is like the just sort of grotesqueness. Like Crumb is not super far in that direction, but he's the reason I think of him is because he's just all about just all of his just horrible insecurities and prejudices and everything just coming directly out onto the page, and like it's just his work is fascinating for that and other reasons. I don't necessarily, again, I don't want to start saying like Edmund Macmillan is the R. Crumb of games, like whatever. That's stupid. But
who is? While we're on the subject,
oh, it's Citizen Kane.
Oh,
Citizen Metroid Prime. I'm sorry, I get those.
Oh, I thought you said Citizen Kane is the R. Crumb of games.
That is what. I said.
Citizen Kane is the Metroid Prime of games.
Metroid is the Citizen Kane of R. Crumb.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that was like I remember when when Steve made that sort of evaluation of the thing, and I can totally see where he's coming from. But for me, it just didn't, as you say, like it didn't bother me because I was almost just glad to see that attitude. Like one of the things that I think is dangerous about being really prescriptive about sort of controversial content and like I think it's really important to be sensitive to groups that are marginalized and that are frequently the target of abuse. But there's another kind of parallel aspect to that, which is that I think that there is some degree of benefit in art to expose the fucked up shit in people's brains because that shit's going to be there probably. And like, it's hard to say. Like, for example, like Lolita is an important work that should exist, even though obviously the character depicted in it is contemptible.
Right.
You know
but
what I mean?
yeah,
like
people often conflate taboo with, sort of oppression or like sort of like a misaligned power structure of, like if this game was like you were, if Binding of Isaac was the same style and everything, but you're running around like killing a certain race or something, it starts like people throw all that stuff into the same bucket of bad, and I think making an art piece around taboo versus around sort of like fucked up power structures, like those are different things. I do think those things get conflated a lot. Well,
and also the difference between those two things is that a game where you just go around killing people of a certain race or whatever, that's just entirely externalized, like horrible, just like genocide. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like that's to me like occupies a very different artistic space than exploring looking inwardly to your own brain and trying to puzzle through what's going on in there. You know what I mean? Like
that's why taboo is charged,
it's
right?
like that's why Lolita isn't about a guy who just goes around serially raping children. You know what I mean? Like it's not to say the guy's actions in the book are defensible, but it's much more of a personal examination of this mindset and character, and not just a trivialization and kind of sensationalism of like just wanton like oppression or like racial like genocide or anything like that. Like there's the inward and then there's the externalized view of these things, and like one of them is a lot can be, I think, more artistically worthwhile than the other.
No, I completely agree. Like, I absolutely completely agree. I think it's super important for any creative form that's trying to do anything to get into that stuff, because taboo exists not by natural law. Taboo exists based on like our manufacturing of it. Like we manufacture the reality of taboo in a society, and if you can't present that in a creative work, in an amoral way, or in a way that doesn't have moral judgment on it, then you're not really exploring what it is to be a member of that society.
One place that you can't express this content is on the Nintendo 3DS.
That's true.
They were Edwin McMillan was trying to do a DS port of this, and I think they started developing it, and then Nintendo said, we won't certify it for content purposes, which is...
Hey, a platform holder can do whatever they want. I just think it's stupid.
I know. I thought it was interesting for them to even try putting that on a Nintendo platform.
I think it's great, but they should try.
Yeah. Who thought that would work? Nobody. I'm glad they tried. It's weird to, like, I wonder how often these days Nintendo blocks something for content purposes like that, for moral content purposes. It's really weird.
Is it PC only?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, which by the way is another nice thing about the PC, is that
I just didn't know if you could play it on Mac.
So there was a great. I'm sorry. This is a kind of a. I'm not going to read this whole quote because it's long, but I found this quote about the novel by Milan Kundera a couple weeks ago, and I just thought it was so excellent, and it really relates to what we're saying. So I'm just going to be a pretentious douche and just read a quote onto the cast because I just really liked it.
We're gonna say be a pretentious douche without saying anything snarky.
Suspending moral judgment is not the immorality of the novel; it is its morality. Yeah. Like the whole point of art, at least to me, is to represent what's going on internally, honestly, and to hopefully present it in such a way that allows the reader, the player, listener, whatever, to interpret and to hopefully come to some understanding. And like, I don't necessarily personally think The Binding of Isaac is actually going to leave me with a lot of really carefully considered,
You don't think it's going to peel back the layers of existence?
Yeah, it's probably
humanity?
not. But I do think it's pretty worthwhile simply as a weird look into a guy's brain. Like, I think it's totally valid as that.
Yep.
Yeah, no. And it's just one of those things that I'm really glad exists.
Yeah.
Because if one really talented young game designer plays it and goes, oh man, wow, games can, like, it just sort of expands his possibility space for what he can express, that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that people like McMillan are making games like this. It's very good. Good.
Yep.
Yeah, we should take a break.
Yeah, let's do that.
Can we take a break?
No.
Video game.
I'm Sean Vanneman.
For Patagonia, wicked underpants.
Wicked underpants.
Moisture wicking.
Is there an H in wick?
No.
Wicked.
Wicked undergarments. The Vanneman collection.
This does sound like an outdoor apparel brand.
Wicked.
It's like it's like Orvis or like one of those like
Houick.
Yeah. Wicked.
Wicked.
Made in America.
Video game.
When we were talking about
the thing that
when you were like, oh, I never.
So are we back?
Kind of.
Yeah, we can be back.
Okay.
Hi, we're back.
Hey.
Maybe, but you might want to cut all this stuff because I don't know if it's actually going to be interesting.
Okay.
It's more just me thinking out loud. But when you said, oh, you don't really come across as one of those guys who really like play a lot of this game or that game, and I don't. But the problem is, like, I am really into Dota right now.
No, I know.
And to the point where I actually feel kind of weirdly guilty about it. Does that happen to you guys where you're just sort of?
Yeah.
It's so funny. I'm compelled to keep playing this game. And I think about it when I'm.
How is this improving me?
It's not improving me at all.
Right, yeah.
And like, I got married this year, so like, I have to tell my wife, "Oh, I'm just going to play Dota for an hour." So like, I have this like built-in human mechanism that's the cool thing about like being married is you are just so honestly yourself. There's no hiding your shit.
Right.
You know.
But at the same time, you're now probably way more aware of it than you would have been.
Right, but now I'm
because you have to actually walk to another human being. You're like, I've decided to share my life with you, except for this hour right now. I need to play Dota 2.
Except for this 1/24th of
Hold
the
on,
day.
I'm going to go be Queen of Pain for an hour.
I'm not allowed to be Queen of Pain anymore.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. There's a feminist argument where I'm not allowed to be Queen of Pain anymore.
Man.
And she doesn't like the barks. And I don't have a good...
I haven't played that character.
I don't have...
I assume it's really stupid. Yeah,
Get on the pain.
Right,
yeah, it's you.
Thanks, video games.
Yeah. So it's like,
Thanks
you're
for
welcome. One morning, she's like, well, God bless her. Like, I mean, I'm really stoked I married Amelia because of the story I'm about to say. But like, one morning over breakfast, we were talking about that. And I said, well, let me pick a character that has good noises that you like. And she said, can you do that? And I go, here, let me just bring up the Dota wiki page that has everybody's voice on it. And I would play something. And
She played her the shitty wizard.
I did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
what did she think?
Oh. Did she like it?
Did she realize it was an idle thumbs thing?
Oh.
Ooh. She did. She thought it was really, really great.
you guys, wow.
Anyway, so we're just going through 108 lords, and the guy's like, going forward. And she's like, no. She's like, going forward. She's like, going forward. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
She's like, and then she's like, we'll play more of that guy.
Into that.
Like, and he's like, cash for the poor. Last hit, got it. Murder. She's like, I like that it's all the same tone. I can ignore that at the same amount.
It's just low frequency.
It's the time when somebody's like, oh, there we go now. Last hit here. Oh, good. She's like, no, I can't ignore that with the same amount of energy. She has to keep, like, it's like there's an internal
If there's a
volume
frequency
knob.
she can tune out,
Yeah.
that you're allowed those lords only.
Right.
Only
So, like,
wife-tuneoutable
Slardar
lords.
is my new guy. I'm just learning to play this fucking ocean beast.
What is a part of Dota 2
name's
that I can most
Slardar,
easily
by the way.
ignore when you're doing this near me?
And
Oh,
also,
it's Slardar. Hopefully she now knows that it's called Slardar.
Oh, yeah, Sean
that's
plays a
the thing.
Slardar.
my husband
because
plays
like she's like
Slardar.
leaning over.
My husband runs Slardar.
Like I
don't know
love
if
her
that's
so
a
much.
thing.
She's like sitting there being super like, and she doesn't give a shit about video games, but she's being super sort of like present in the conversation.
I thought you were going to say supportive.
No, but she's saying like, yeah, she's like, so yeah,
And you're Slardar.
Yeah.
she's like, so yeah, you can.
He's playing as
Yeah,
Slardar.
exactly. She's like, well, Slardar's totally fine. And she's like, that drow, I don't know. She's like, and I can handle. I know you have an attachment to Lich, so like you can keep. Like it's like, oh, thanks, hon. And I was like, well, I do really like Queen of Pain. I think I'm good with her. She's like, no, we need to talk about Queen of Pain. What other? There was like some other characters I can play, but they're also like the ones she picked are like these hard carry motherfuckers that like I have no business playing. So like I'm just gonna be in a match, a pickup game, and I'm playing like fucking like.
My wife only lets me.
It's like my wife. Sorry.
lets me play Slardar.
She said, "Yeah, I have to play Slardar. I know I'm the semi carry. I'm supposed to be supporting you right now. I'm sorry. I'm learning. I'm watching YouTubes. My wife said I have to.
What if you play like Team Captain mode and Slardar's banned or whatever that mode is?
I'm not just allowed Slardar because I think that paints
Guys, I'm not just allowed Slardar. I could be other guys.
I think that paints
Which one?
Amelia in a
Who's
bad
cool?
light. I think that puts her in a bad light.
No, I love Amelia. She's great.
But
Awesome.
I'm not just allowed. I have like 7 lords I'm allowed to play.
You're like, Amelia's
Well, the
going out of
problem
town.
is none of
Mouse drifts over to Queen of Pain.
exactly. Oh, good.
You have some wild times.
Can't wait
when
for
the
that.
wife is out.
Can't wait for that semester to start. Yeah. Oh, but the problem is all the guys who I like to play, like Tidehunter and Queen of Pain, and are just didn't make the cut.
No, they're just right out.
Didn't make the cut. Yeah.
You and Amelia, though, you've played some Skyrim. You played a lot
She
of
loves
Civ
Skyrim.
5.
She likes Civ
played
5 a
both
lot.
Gravity
calls it-
Bone and 30 Flights of Living. I think she actually
She
even
really.
controlled a
Those
good
are
chunk
her.
of that.
She said
And
that 30 Flights of Loving is her favorite game she's played.
Nice.
Up in ever. That
I
and,
made part of that.
yeah, she said exclusively for the music.
Oh, yeah,
that and
of course.
Limbo. She said were her 2 favorites ever.
Oh,
and I
cool.
do think it's just because style is so
It's really present.
so present, but in a really
those games also just from a tone
non-aggressive way.
standpoint are
Tone festivals.
yeah.
And the things that they're about are not necessarily. I mean, a little more so in Limbo's case, but they're not. You don't need to be super tapped into the mechanics to get what those games are about.
But the issue is like it doesn't change the fact that I'm not for the first time in my life, really. And I guess it's like because I'm a grown up with more responsibilities now. that I'm really having a hard time managing my opinion of my enjoyment of Dota. It's like I'm not having a hard time managing my time or managing. It's like I'm having a harder time managing the fact that I like it. It feels very schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And I don't like it at all. And I don't really know what to do about that.
Yeah, I know.
So if you have any suggestions, please write in at questions@thumbs.net.
I do really quick, and this might go nowhere, but when we were driving around at work today and you were talking about this,
Right.
you mentioned that the other time that this has happened to you is when you played Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
really?
Yeah,
Which is the best.
But the thing is,
because
I
that's
was-
a game that we probably
Right.
didn't talk about a lot, especially in the context of multiplayer. On this
And I was
thing
in between relationships, and I just fucking tore through multiplayer. Like I got all you could get to level 70 or whatever and get the gold shit. And did that. Like went on like definitely played the shit out of it to the point where I thought I was pretty good. Where I could go 25-5 in a match. I could get the DC 10 crazy perk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
DC 10, that's not right.
I don't think either of us have anything to say about this because I've never touched Modern Warfare.
No, but it's one of
2,
those games that like I would stop playing it and go to work or whatever. And again, like this is a different time in my life, and I would think like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I playing? Like, I should be writing the great American novel. I should be reading a book. I should be I live in San Francisco. Like, what am I doing? And it's not the same feeling. Like I had much more. There was a layer of self-loathing that came with Modern Warfare 2 that is not there with Dota.
Yeah.
But it's still sort of a guilt thing, and I don't really know what that means. But I certainly don't feel. It doesn't ever come across the fact that I can't wait to go home and play Binding of Isaac some more. So.
That's because it's got poo
Keep
in it
Binding
and
of
stuff.
Isaac.
Dude, I'm so stoked for the international though.
Then you'll feel it. You'll feel it strong.
Yeah. I am really stoked to go to the international though.
The what?
The international
Explain that for people who don't know what the international is.
The
That's a generic
international
name for a thing.
this is the second annual international.
The second annual The International.
Second annual The International, which is Valve's hosted Dota tournament.
It's an invitational, right?
Yes.
It's the invitation. It's the International Invitational.
There's 16 international teams. There's only like 3 American teams, which I think is really fascinating and really cool. The purse, it's like a $1.8 million purse. First prize gets $1 million.
Yeah.
It's going to be in PAX. I mean, it's going to be in Seattle during PAX. And
which you were at first bummed about. You were like, ugh, what's this League of Legends and the International doing?
Dorks.
Showing up in Seattle, fucking
taking up all our hotel rooms.
Chris, I need to get an invite to the International. I need to go to the International.
Chris, figure it out, please.
Gotta get into that.
That was the
International.
best email of that week. Was you saying, "Hey, I think we can go to the International." It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. I'm going to be kind of at sea. I don't really know this game. It's
all right, man.
But yeah.
I got my international jersey.
Yeah.
My Gigabyte sponsored. Yeah.
That's good.
It's gonna be. I don't know. Maybe it'll be the thing that assassinates my. Maybe
Right.
it'll be overload.
Or,
last
that's
or
done.
it will be the thing where you realize that you've actually just been stacking like this beautiful sort of log cabin arrangement of wood and dousing it with lighter fluid. Then you go to the International and that's the match that just the flame, the Dota flame in your heart of like, yeah. You'll actually become a lord. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's actually a Dota 2 commercial where that happens.
It's amazing that first prize is $1 million.
Yeah.
$1 million.
If you play Dota a ton between now and PAX, maybe that $1 million can be yours.
I'm not invited. Idle Thumb's gonna run.
Wait, I thought you were going to the International.
Time for training montage. But I'm not even invited, guys.
Think of $1 million across 5 guys from the Ukraine. That's fucking life changing. That's amazing to me. Wow. Anyway, I have nothing insightful to say about any of that other than I'm excited.
Yeah, should be good.
We see us at the International. Come say hi.
Oh, speaking of that, it's worth saying
anywhere at PAX.
one more time out of the billion times. We're going to be at PAX. We're doing a panel
Friday morning, 10:30 a.m.
Which theater?
Pegasus Theater.
Is it Pegasus? Okay.
Pegasus. And
We're going up against the keynote, so tell your friends.
Yeah,
come see
we're
us.
double booked with the opening keynote.
we would never say anything bad about Ted Price of
he's a super
Insomniac.
nice guy.
Super nice guy.
I would say that
But our
his
panel's
keynote
gonna
is
be awesome.
probably
Probably gonna be
lame.
pretty bad.
Probably
Pretty
a shitty
bad.
panel you don't want to go to. But the Idle Thumbs live show, it's going to be
Holy shit.
crazy.
Yeah.
We do have some fun things we've been talking about amongst ourselves.
None of which
No
we'll do.
promises, but we are really looking forward to it. And
Yeah.
we're going to do our damn best to make it an entertaining hour.
Yep.
Yeah, so go to our PAX panel if you're going to PAX.
It's Friday, 10:30.
Or if you're going to the International, look for Sean.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be wearing the shirt that says, I'm famous Vanneman on it.
Are you getting me one of those made like you said you would?
I am now.
Like Jake definitely said he would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I get you an I'm famous Vanneman shirt, are you wearing that to the International?
Yeah.
Get Mike to tack that on.
Okay, that's happening now. We're doing that. It's fine.
Done. God, speaking of which, we went over to the t-shirt, the screen printers where we're having our shirts printed.
Yeah, it's called Babylon Burning in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's awesome. If you live in San Francisco and need shirts printed, get them done with these guys because they're amazing.
Good live read, dude. Good live read.
Yeah. They didn't pay us to say that. I just want to be clear.
Yet.
But no, they.
We in fact paid them thousands and thousands and thousands.
We're not even
and
going to say how many
of
thousands
dollars
because it
was more than thousands
to think.
by a lot than the number of thousands that I said.
Yeah, add many, many more thousands.
You would add more than 10 to what the number that I said. And anyway,
you don't need this much money to do a podcast. No,
you
but
do,
you do
gotta...
need to print and ship thousands of T-shirts. So that's where all that money's going to go.
But it was really cool to go over there and see them starting to do all this stuff. Like,
and you go to check out our blog at idlethumbs.net to see some progress photos because this stuff's going to turn out so much more awesome than I think we initially. Like when we initially were just like, for $50 you get a T-shirt. Like that was probably a very vague notion.
They're turning out all classy, which is pretty
actually
sweet,
impressive. So these are going to. I would. Just going to go on a limb here and say, I would venture to say these are probably going to be sweeter T-shirts than you're going to get in most Kickstarters or video game merchandise T-shirts.
I got a pretty good T-shirt from Venus Patrol, even though it's not a style of T-shirt that I would usually wear.
That's true.
That was nice.
There have been some good
But
T-shirts.
this one's got that sick Idle Thumbs logo on it, which is way better than some sort of like wolf fox lady being bisected at the limbs and stuff. Yeah, what you want is a giant... It's pretty cool. But what you really want is two huge hands with a tiny typewriter coming out of a circle and it's saying Idle Thumbs underneath it.
Yeah, you probably want that. Or you want
a gold foil fucking wizard shirt.
the gold foil shirt is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's read some reader mail.
Yeah.
So Joe Wintergreen writes, Hey Thumbs, I got a lot out of your responses the other week to the question about achievements. I'm making a game now that I'm hoping to ship this year on Steam and iOS. And while neither of those platforms requires achievement, there's a weird peer pressure I get from other indie devs to implement achievements and leaderboards and microtransactions, even though they're not clearly totally appropriate for my game, which is kind of a slow-paced, meditative puzzling and exploration thing. When I tell these guys there's no way a leaderboard makes sense in that context, the consensus is that I should implement some kind of challenge mode purely to support that feature. It's really tiring to argue against. Have you guys encountered this before, and do you think there's anything to be gained by putting the stuff in the game where it doesn't belong?
I mean, we kind of elucidated. It's also insinuated that we had.
It's tough for us because we work for a studio which has a marketing department, which I think means the pressure comes from a different place than like other peer developers.
Yeah, and also just our platform partners and things like that.
Yeah, it's frustrating to me to hear that even is a thing that exists because it seems like achievements,
especially from other indie devs.
It seems like achievements exist because Jay Allard came out on stage at GDC and said you can trade your gamer points for rims with the 360. Like that's where all that stuff.
Well, he actually, on that note, he goes on to say, on a related note, that's not a question. At E3, I overheard a guy from Che Entertainment who made Infinity Blade discussing microtransactions with which Infinity Blade is known for. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, microtransactions are bullshit, I hate them, and I wish they weren't in the game. The idea of those guys implementing features they hate without a platform owner forcing it on them was fascinating to me.
But again, Chair is a part of Epic.
Right.
So, but the thing you have to remember, the point is, as just on the highest level, are you going to sometimes be in positions to put things in your game that you don't want in there? Yeah. Does it suck? Yeah. Should you, iOS indie Steam developer, do it? No.
the thing that I actually want to know, and I don't because I don't know any full-time iOS indie guys, is do they have metrics on that stuff? Is the reason are they pressuring this guy to do it because it's you got to do it?
Good
philosophy. No, if it is just that's what you do in a game. That's what people like these days. Or is it do it, put a challenge mode in because I didn't, and then in my next game or in the game or in the next rev of my game, I put in a challenge mode, and now I'm making a fuckload of money. So you're stupid for not putting it in. Is it just that space to me? From what little I do know, seems like it is one. Well, okay, sorry, backing up. Games as a commercial medium are a space where assumed knowledge sometimes shows up without metrics or gets a life of its own inside of a developer community where it's gamers like this. Do you like that? No. Are you a gamer? Fuck yes. What are you doing then? that.
Yeah. So I think you make a good point. But if somebody links you a chart like a PDF where it says this is the sort of like microtransaction revenue you're looking at if you put a challenge mode in with this sort of like purchasable perk, and it fits thematically into your game, then this game's going to be the one that pays for your next game.
But it's like, it depends. That sort of thing does then also go all the way back to, why are you in this? Like the guy who made Tiny Wings is an example of a dude who I think
it's a great example.
Like one guy made a game that got to the top of the charts in the App Store for weeks. Like it was the first big thing to upset Angry Birds. And then he put out a tease like a month or so ago for Tiny Wings 2, and people were like, this is it, Tiny Wings 2 is the cash in. And then he said, no. This spoiler, it's actually Tiny Wings 2.0. It's a free update to Tiny Wings 1 where I just put all this extra shit in the game. I've been working on it for a year straight. Everyone who bought Tiny Wings, you're already updated to Tiny Wings 2, and I'm just doing it because it's going to bump me back up to the top of the charts. But it's all just stuff that I wanted to put in the game. Like, that's it. One-man dev team out. And that's such the opposite of the usual model. Yeah, but I'm sure that he's successful at it.
I'm sure he's successful with whatever his definition of success is. Sure. You know, I mean, could he be making more money off Tiny Wings? Absolutely, yes. But that's not why he's making the game, which is cool. Which is awesome.
It's also crazy to think about when he's a guy who is one of probably a dozen people who have sat at the top of the games chart for that long that isn't, he especially probably in like top 3 or 4 people total who have ever been number one who at this point aren't Disney or whatever the Angry Birds devs is. Rovio, like those guys. So it's like that is an extreme counterexample, but like it also obviously has its own momentum and was number one and stuff. But like,
I think that's a good point.
You don't have to do it, but it makes me wonder, what are the metrics versus what is just assumed philosophy, and also you have to ask yourself, what am I doing this for?
Exactly.
If the regardless of metrics or philosophy.
Yeah,
or
exactly. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's what we think. Good question, though.
Yeah.
And good luck on your game, man.
Yeah.
Making games is super goddamn hard. So
true.
You said, Sean, that you want to talk about something on the forums?
Oh, the forums is really good right now. Sorry, there's a couple of threads. One, this is just anecdotal, and then the other one is actually a conversation that started today. And like really, some of our like my favorite people on the forums are a part of the conversation. So
if you're not a part of this conversation, you're not on Sean's.
Well, what's funny is the thing that is just fantastic is, so we've had this Idle Thumbs Motorcycle Club forum for a few months now, and it's just people on the forums.
It's just a thread. It's not
a thread. Sorry, it's just a thread.
Hardly a forum, more like a thread.
But it's just people on motorcycles and.
God, I thought you just said it's just people on motorcycles.
Just people on motorcycles.
Just people on motorcycles.
Just people on motorcycles.
Just rocking it.
Just on going, man. Just opening it up.
Just letting it ride.
Really quick, sorry. Have you seen, like, if you
this is a diversion.
It is. It's amazing though.
Have you seen a motorcycle?
No, I don't know if this is just a California thing or if it's just sort of a like Sierras/Tahoe Hills thing. But there's signs intended on like sort of curvy and steep roads for truckers that just say "let her drift." That is to tell you like don't lock the brakes on your semi. But sorry, just saying just people just letting it ride. But the things that are like "let her drift," like what? Who approved that verbiage in Caltrans? Like for what that sign is? It's so good. Anyway,
that sign brought to you by the cowboy at the end of The Big Lebowski. Apparently,
yeah.
But you're on like page 6. Somebody said, oh, I think what I love so much about riding my motorcycle is a lot of what I love about video games, which is just sort of, you kind of have a different implied rule set on the road than another car. In your head, you just have this amazing, that's the thing that you don't really get if you, like, it's, people tell you this, I didn't really understand it until like day one I was on the road. I was like, holy shit, you smell everything. You can see everything. Like, it feels like you're just naked on top of this thing going as fast as a car. And it's you get the same sense of why a dog sticks his head out of a window.
Yeah.
And you can get across, like, I remember Amelia and I were in Alamo Square. Not Alamo Square, we were in Dolores Park. So if you know San Francisco, we're in south of the city. And it was really hot and we were kind of uncomfortable and we were there for like 3 hours. She said, I'd love to just go to the beach. And we had the motorcycle. And we were on the beach in like 12 minutes. We just went up and over Twin Peaks and we're just there. And now we're just experiencing a new day. And you get that sort of freedom of movement in a really great open world systemic game. And so this conversation started about just sort of tying all these like very like these emotional feelings that you get from a motorcycle. Not like, oh, like mechanical stuff of like what it's like to be on a great bike on a curve or something, but just sort of these emotional responses to the sort of emotional triggers that you have in a game that allows you to have them. And it was just a really good conversation. So, I mean, there are really fantastic conversations happening on the Idle forums right now. But the other one that somebody brought up today was just really unique use of voice in games. And like Brendan Chung weighed in, and Greg Brown, Greg Nemeth now, I guess he just got married, weighed in. And it was really great. It was really, it's just a good conversation. People kind of talking about like the chintzy use of voice. Like there's that game, like in Mario Kart DS, where you have to blow into the thing to like blow up your balloons. But also just how
that's the best though. Whatever, we'll not put that in the bad.
I mentioned Dota, how voice is just so integral to the experience, but isn't integrated in a mechanically interesting way. It's just there like every other game.
It's a metagame thing. Kind of.
Yeah. So I couldn't think of games where voice is so mechanically implemented, where it's not sort of chintzy and, you know...
Left. More men. Odama for the GameCube. Yep. Hey, you Pikachu.
Yeah.
Why aren't those being
Odama's
discussed?
The one?
Odama.
You guys should get
it was hilarious.
On the forum. You have to mention Odama.
That game where you control the units around on a giant medieval pinball table.
Double Fine Happy Action Theater.
Has that got voice in it?
You can say talk to it. And the new one.
You can say talk to it in the new one.
You can say hey TV in the new game, and you can tell it what to do.
Really?
Yeah.
But you say like, pop that balloon.
No. You use it to like...
Move, guy.
You can
be awesome.
Take a picture, like go to the next
Yeah, but that's
activity,
like a computer helper assistant.
I'm just being really shameless right now.
Oh, I see.
Is that... Double Fine's Happy Action Theater available on the Xbox Live Arcade Marketplace?
It is, although the new game is not out until September.
I didn't know that was announced.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't made a big deal about it yet, but it's been mentioned. It's been in a couple articles and stuff. Yep. You played it recently. Well, I don't.
No. Did I?
No.
Oh.
All right. Are we done?
Yeah.
Cool.
Read those forums.
That was a longer cast than I expected.
Yep.
It was.
If you have an email...
Can't stop us talking about video games.
Oh, or Mars.
Oh, man.
Or space.
It's Games and Space Cast. Questions, write them into questions@idlethumbs.net. Also, you can follow us on Twitter. We are just at Idle Thumbs. Also, if you like Idle Thumbs, please just tell your goddamn friends about this podcast. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, if you like it, tell a friend. Make them listen to it.
Did that.
Force them to listen to it until they don't want to.
Or if you work in a major school system, just download iTunes to every computer.
Oh, that's a good idea.
In the district.
In the school
and then
system
subscribe with Idle Thumbs.
Then,
like a university school.
Yes.
Then if you could hack into your school security system and like automatically bolt all the doors on the campus, and then turn up the volume, like just set it to play all the episodes in a row.
Wait, you know what you should do?
Really
You should,
and then try just keep all the students captive for like 6 months, repeating the entire run of Idle Thumbs, and just like Stockholm the shit out of them until all they want to do is just really need our voices to function, and then let them out into the world again. And I think they'll take it from there.
You could hack BattleNet. And
didn't that happen?
No.
Oh.
But someone should do that. If someone has recently hacked BattleNet, you should be
Today,
sure.
actually, BattleNet,
you should be sure. Yes, I'm aware that's what happened.
Sorry, Jake.
Get all that account data and make
joke.
sure they subscribe to Idle Thumbs. That's all I was going to say. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Just talking about a thing that actually happened.
You did so good. I was like, I had a gleam.
Video games.
What is August 10th?
Yeah.
Hey.
What happened? I think you just had an entire experience that was so outside of Chris and I's reality. The one that we're all in together. We went on a journey that was so weird. Watching your faces go like, oh. I felt like somebody was massaging your leg under the table.
I forgot the dateline and couldn't remember what the dateline is. And I still don't quite remember. All that I remember is it's August 10th, 2012, and it's Dracula week.
I'm Chris Ream. Oh, God damn it. That's really good, though. Fuck.
Why did you you should have just gone.
Because I fucked it up.
Oh.
I didn't say episode or anything. I was so excited about that.
I'm going to scream, oh my God, that was so good.
Seriously, I was so excited about that being the dateline that I just totally flustered. I just got totally flustered.
Oh, man. Well, it's August 10th, 2012, and it's Dracula week.
This is Idle Thumbs 89. I'm Chris.
Whoa!
Is that wrong?
Video games.
I had a Gleam. Episode 69, I had a Gleam.
Why did you just say that? Why did you call it out? I fucking refuse. Nope.
Chris, cut that last
If we're ending it with you saying that word and we had to cut it out because it's the episode title, it's not the episode title. Done. You had it, and then you said it. You ruined it. You had it. That was it. Fucker. Oh, you ruined it.